It's a good one today, guys. In this video, I'm going to take you through how we've onboarded hundreds of marketing clients over the years. So I'm going to take you through the exact process we use to onboard clients. I'm going to reveal the checklist and essentially show you how to ensure that you can set those accounts up for success. So in the last 6 years, we've onboarded clients all over the globe. Those clients have spent millions with us in agency fees, in ad spend. We've won awards for the work we've done. And best of all, we've bootstrapped this from zero. So it's super applicable, right? Now, at the end of the video, I'm also going to give you 3 secret tips that aren't listed in the document. So please, please, please stick around until the end. Now, as always, if you like this type of content, if you like these sort of videos that I'm churning out, please subscribe to the channel. Drop the video a little like as well. It helps me immensely. I'm still early on in my YouTube journey, which, you can probably appreciate the graph that you have to put in to try and grow those numbers. So a subscription to the channel, a like on the video, that's all I ask for in return. That'd be absolutely fantastic. So I think that's it. Let's dive straight into it. As usual, the show notes will be available in the YouTube comments. So this document here will be available for you to use. And just to give you a bit of a taste of what's to come, I've literally listed out everything that's involved in our onboarding processes. I'll also go through some things to remember, some lessons at the end. And then we've also got the secret tips that I'm going to reveal right at the end of the video as well. So let's dive straight into it. I think it's really keen to let you guys know that bad onboarding can actually kill your relationship before it started. Now, this process has evolved over the years, right? This wasn't how it was 6 years ago or 5 years ago. It wasn't even how it was 12 months ago. We've worked over the years to tweak, evolve, optimize it so that we can create a flow now that sets the account up for the successes that both the client and ourselves want, right? And actually, some of the lessons that we've learned from this is just that, bad onboarding can kill a client account before it's even started, which is why it's absolutely integral that you guys follow this and that you get it right as well. So step 1, contract's just been signed. Fantastic. Do this the same day. Do not wait a day to start getting the comms out to your client. So the first thing we do is create a shared drive between you and the client. Now, of course, a shared drive means that any sort of documentation can be uploaded from them into a port that all of our team that have access to or are working on the account can essentially jump in as and when they need and use these assets to start building out the delivery as well. So usually myself or one of our account managers or an account strategist will create a shared drive, and then within that shared drive we'll start creating some internal folders. And most importantly, we'll also arrange these by category and channel as well. So we'll have a folder that's onboarding documentation, so such as the kickoff call presentation, any notes. We'll also have brand assets. This is for the client to add to. Any sort of tone of voice documentation as well. The client can upload copies of these to that space. From our perspective, we split it up into SEO, so things like audits, keyword research, content imagery, paid media. So depending on what you're running, Google Ads, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or any of your socials. We'll also have a website folder as well. So if you do any CRO work, messaging work like we do, we'll keep that slightly separate, albeit there is going to be overlap between the channels, but we like to keep that folder separate from the others. And then finally, your monthly reports as well. So get this set up. It takes 5 minutes. Just get it established because as soon as you start communicating with the client, as soon as you start sending documents and receiving documents, things can get messy very quickly. So get the shared drive created. Now, as soon as this is done, so if the client signs a contract at 1 p.m., this should be done by 1:05 p.m., for example. And I'm not going to run through sort of briefing your accounts team, anything like this. This is solely focused on the delivery of the onboarding for the client. So I'm not going to talk about that side of it, just in case you're wondering. Now, the first email that should be sent 5 minutes after contract is signed and the shared drive has been set up. This should be positioned as a welcome email, and it should go to all client stakeholders. So even if your point of contact is the marketing manager, if you've had the VP or the CEO or the MD make just one appearance on one of the pitches or one of the calls, CC them into this welcome email. It's absolutely critical that you've got the paper trail there. Now, it's important you get this bit right. So the welcome email should be essentially should outline or list, I should say, like a thanks for having them complete the agreement. You know, just an acknowledgement of them taking the time to go to legal, get things signed off, get buy-in, usually from their senior team. So the first thing is thank them for the arrangement. The next part is suggest 3 dates and times to have a kickoff call with them. Ensure that they arrange this or approve this, or essentially tick one of the times within sort of 1 to 2 days of that contract signing. The worst thing you can do is you send this email, you don't hear anything about it, and it's either ended up in junk, in spam, and it slows you down. And trust me, when those things happen, it never looks great on you, even though it might have been out of your control. So suggest 3 dates and times to have a kickoff call. Don't just say to the client, when are you available? Say, are you free on Monday, the 24th of month at or between 1 and 3 p.m. or 1 and 4 p.m. Are you free Tuesday the 25th or Wednesday the 26th at the same times? Actually suggest open times that yourself and your team are available to have this kickoff call. We'll run through sort of what the kickoff call should look like, but just so you're aware, the kickoff call should include everyone that is working on that account on both sides. So anyone that has a touch point for the account should be on this kickoff call. That could be a lot of people. So make sure you do a bit of a sense check the calendars to make sure everyone is free and that there's no annual leave planned, basically. The next part to this, let them know that you'll start sending over onboarding documentation. You're going to end up sending over a couple of emails with documents that are going to be quite lengthy, right? It's good to separate these out with their own subject heading so that if the client needs to come back to them, it's easier to find, basically. You don't want the client having to sift through loads of back and forth of email, trying to find the exact sort of email that they're looking for in between loads of other emails that have been sent. It's not great customer experience, right? So send over any other documentation with their own subject heading because it just helps them manage their inbox as well. Also let them know that you require access for various tech stack, right? So this might be Google Analytics, it might be Google Ads, LinkedIn, Search Console, access to their CRM and access to the CMS as well. And the one thing I will say is use a single email address, at least with the likes of, say, Google Ads, LinkedIn Ads, Google Analytics, Search Console, for example. You might have a separate email address for the likes of, say, CMS work. It might be a developer email, but use a single email address for the core tech stack that you'll sort of be in day to day. Now, one thing I also didn't outline here, but ensure you send a link to the shared drive. So the shared drive that you've just set up, send a link to it, add all those stakeholders that are in the email into the shared drive so that they have access, and ask them to start uploading any documentation as well. And then the final part to this as well, round it off with a bit of an excitement to get started. Say you're looking forward to meeting the wider team, starting to work on the account, getting some early successes, essentially just get them excited, right? They've just signed probably an expensive agreement with you. They've got KPIs to hit. Get them excited. Let them know that you're working in partnership with them and that you're keen, are ready and raring to go, basically. Don't start on the back foot. Absolutely integral. You send that welcome email and it contains all of the above points as well. The second email you're going to send, which again will be on the same day that the contract has closed, send the client an onboarding questionnaire. So for us at Session Media, we call this the Client Insights document. Now, the goal of the Client Insights document essentially is to have a knowledge base of everything to do with the client on paper. Now, a key thing with this is when you do send over and you start sending over different bits of documentation, ensure that there's consistency in your naming conventions. So for us at our agency, all the documents we send will always follow the format of client, X, session media, and then the delivery item. Now, it's a very, very small thing, a very, very small detail, but having the client first shows that this is about them and not about us. And obviously the delivery item ensures that they know what the document's about. Now, in a client insights document or the onboarding questionnaire, which essentially, is what it is, our cover page will look a little bit something like this. Again, we'll have the client logo up the top here, and we'll just thank them for choosing us. Usually we're pitching against 2, 3, sometimes even actually 5 different agencies for their work. Quite often, the marketing manager, who's usually sort of tasked with the responsibility of deciding on that agency, is the one that's been selling us upwards, right? So typically they'd have seen a lot of our marketing material for some years now. They'd have been pushing their seniors to say, look, you guys, or we need to engage with session media. They stuck their neck out on the line for us. So just acknowledge that. Just thank them for choosing us, right? It's the first thing we can do on here. So again, when we're thinking about small engagements and perceptions, we've got their logo there. It feels a bit personalized. Obviously, it's all in session media branding, and we just thank them again for choosing session media. And then we get quite personable with the opening text as well. We acknowledge that this document is actually sort of 15 pages. It's got the best part of sort of 16 or 17 different questions, and acknowledge that it's going to take some time for this document to be filled in, but it's the absolute foundation that we need to build our successes on. If we don't have a thorough client insights document, we subsequently can't build campaigns that get in front of their target market and subsequently get the successes that they're looking for. So again, yourself and your team will need to sell the benefits of filling in the client insights document, because it is going to take likely some hours, possibly from different stakeholders in the client's business, to get this complete. So what are some of the areas that we cover? So we ask the client to run through their core services, any seasonality, unique selling points, or what makes them slightly different. The competitor landscape as well. Bear in mind that if you work in digital or in search in particular, the clients' competitors that they see as competitors may be very different to the competitors that you guys audit and identify online. But that is absolutely fine. That's all part of the auditing process that you'll very likely do in that first month. Ask them to list out the industries that they service, and then we start getting a little bit deeper. So the ideal customer profile, who is it specifically that they're trying to get in front of? And then we also give them some templates to build out the target segment profiles as well. So of course, this comes in very handy with LinkedIn, job targeting, and the types of companies, especially the firmographic information of those specific companies. But this also feeds into landing page copy, the keyword research, essentially how we go about delivering on all channels, not just LinkedIn, can be impacted by the type of segment that we're going after, of course, right? So having at least one target segment profile that the client wants to go after is absolutely key. Audience exclusions as well. So this, typically in B2B, you don't have buyers that are between the ages of 18 to 24. So there'd be an exclusion, for example. Budgets, including ad spend, campaign plans as well. They might already have prearranged campaigns with existing agencies that they're running, that they're tied into. They may be going to events and conferences that they're already committed to. So just ask about additional campaign plans, even if they're offline ones, right? Ask about the tech stack as well. A pretty obvious one there. The sales process as well. How long does it take to close a deal? Typically in B2B or across our client network anyway, that's usually from 3 to 6 months. We have some clients where it can be 1 to 2 years. So when we're talking about driving the opportunity at the top, if that goes from a lead to marketing qualified opportunity to sales qualified, it might be up to a year before we actually see any revenue returned on the activity we're doing. That is absolutely key for us to know. And will feed into the reporting that we deliver to the client month to month. But again, also into the content and the messaging that we may create at the top as well. LTV, lifetime value. What is the lifetime value of a customer? It might be that the client doesn't necessarily know this, or it might be that their existing system actually only looks at value month to month or value year to year. It's good to get lifetime value because this gives more of a fuller picture of the return on ad spend and the possible sort of ROI of the activity that you're doing. And then some other bits as well. We also asked, why do customers choose you and why don't they choose you? It's always interesting this. If they've got data to back this up, it's really helpful. It can, again, feed into content to help objection handling and various sort of things further up the funnel. And then what are the goals? Super important, right? You know, what are they hoping to achieve this year as a business? Do they have sort of channel goals that those business goals sort of feed into? It helps us to understand what we need to work towards and also what we need to do to help achieve these goals as well. And then at the end, we also put on a persona Q&A as well. So when we come to scoping messaging, ad copy, whatever it may be, we need to understand the sort of tone of voice, the persona of the client, so we can get this bit right as well. So that's all on the first day. We send this over on the first day, right? We need them to start working through the client insights document as quickly as possible. And we also need them to start uploading any sort of brand assets into that shared drive as well. Now, after that first day, we always say, do this the first week the contract begins. So again, if you can get this done prior to the contract starting, that's bonus points. But usually we say within the first sort of few days of the contract starting, this is what we want to do. So we have a client kickoff call. So this is the first meeting that you have that connects the wider delivery team on the agency side with the stakeholders on the client side. Now, it might have been during the pitch process that actually they requested a meet the team. We also do a number of these as well. So the stakeholders on the client side may have met the team that are working on the account. But a client kickoff call. So the agenda for this is firstly to do a round table. So as I said, you might have done that, you might not have done. But again, it's good to go back over the roles and responsibilities of the people on your team and who's looking after what. So we actually present this as like the second slide within the kickoff call. So we do introductions, we do a round table, and we actually document this in the slide as well. So when we send this over to the client, if they need a quick and easy reference point, they've got it here. So we'll outline all the people that are working on the account, their job title, and then just a sort of formal / informal way of saying, this person looks after this person looks after this, this person is your central point of communication, basically. The slide after this, we actually break this down into a little bit more depth. So we actually have an account management slide that essentially makes it absolutely clear who's owning the comms and when. So, for example, we'll have the key contacts on the slide as well. So your day-to-day contact, your contact across paid media. We might split this again into LinkedIn, Google Ads, Bing, whatever. Your key contacts on SEO. Again, we might split this into digital PR, link building, content, technical, whatever it may be. Depending on the size, we might even add the developer into it and the developer tasks. And then I also have myself as like the fail-safe there. So if there's any checks on contract, delivery, happiness, sort of various bits and pieces like that, I'm always there. So I'm kind of like the person where, you know, if they really need to go super high level, I'm here. Here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. When we look at communication as well, who's going to be communicating day to day? Who's going to be communicating weekly, fortnightly, monthly? This may seem to you like this is overkill, like what the hell? I can promise you that outlining these things as early as possible is absolutely critical to kicking the account off in the right way, and it's absolutely critical to getting successes as well. In this part here, we'll also go through reporting, what reporting looks like, and when to expect it, and also we give a footnote on when to expect replies as well. Now, the agency, the guys that work for us are absolutely fantastic. They're super responsive, super on it. But it's also good just to set the scene that obviously here's our core business hours. We operate in the UK. We typically will reply within say 24 hours of a message coming in. Just good to set the scene. And this looks a little bit like this, right? So we break it down by, as I've said, the key contacts, who's communicating when, delivery, everything's kind of outlined here. And again, this is a great reference point for the client, absolutely integral for the client. So another thing that we'll also add into here is, as part of this, is what to expect and when. So we outline specifically the first 3 months of delivery. So the item, the description, the format, and the owners. Now, one key thing I cannot stress enough with this, and I'm actually going to separate this separately, is that when you run through the delivery, have your team take the lead on this. So it's really good to have your team show expertise in particular and also sell the value of what they're doing. Typically, month one will look like auditing. Clients don't want auditing. They want some wins, successes, some results in that first month. But if your team cut the corners on the auditing, it will not set the account up for success. You might have a good couple of first months because we're getting campaigns out quickly, but actually you'll find that the longer term value of what you do isn't there. It's a little bit more churn and burn. So your team really have to sell the value of putting the time into the auditing, the competitor analysis, all the stuff that clients don't pay us to do. They pay us to get results, right? But it's so integral that it's done and your team sell the value. So good ways to sort of navigate this is essentially first explain what they are, but most importantly, reference other clients and how they've benefited them. So talk about an audit that you ran, that you identify a couple of inefficiencies in the Google Ads account. It allowed you to make some quick fixes and achieve some quick wins. So we got lower CPCs, we achieved a better CPA. From an SEO perspective, it might have been that you had a load of links that were pointing to a 404 page. You redirected that back to a product page that you wanted to rank, and your keyword jumped from 12 to 6 or 5 or whatever it is. So sell the value of it by talking about the successes that other clients have had by your team doing this stuff, right? And one of the key things that we try and do sort of during this audit process is we'll try and outline a quick wins. So what we'll try and do is when the team are doing the big sort of audit processes, they'll also come to us and say, look, here's a list of quick wins, things that we can go in, make changes, and we anticipate a success somewhere. And as I said, that could be a reduced CPC, it could be an improved CPA, it might be we think that this keyword will jump from here to here because it's an obvious fix. So try and get those key wins out of it and outline, set the scene for the client and say we're also looking for quick wins, quick changes we can make so that we can get some successes in that first month, basically. Another sort of footnote I put here, but just make sure that delivery that you outline in the onboarding exactly matches the contract that's been signed as well. Just keep it exactly the same. If it needs to change a little bit based on client feedback and that's within your jurisdiction to do that, then do it, but just keep it consistent. So after that, we'll also run through sort of managing delivery. So the tech stack and the communication. So for us, we just use Slack, we just use G Suite, that's it. We also outline how we actually get successes with clients as well. And we say this specifically. So we say we put performance at the heart of everything we do. That's an agency principle of Session Media. We aim to ensure communication is regular between both parties, and we aim to ensure that ownership and deadlines are agreed as well. Finally, we'll also run through any access that we still need. So we jump onto this call, we still don't have Google Ads access, we still don't have Google Analytics access. Get that access whilst you are on the call, because these are blockers. If you don't have the access, you can't do the work. It's going to slow you down. It's going to mean late delivery, and guess what? It's going to be your fault as well. So get the access on the call. I said at the start, but at the end of this, always suggest a date and a time for the next engagement. Don't say, when are you free? Suggest the date, suggest the time, and arrange that on the call. Even if the client has to take a few extra minutes on the call to agree this, don't worry about the silence as they check their diary. Get used to that silence. You'd much rather come off that call and you've got all the access you need, you've got the next date and the time for the next engagement, than having to chase this up after. It's not fun. And then a lower priority, but something you can also do is suggest a date and time for the monthly call. So we always have a monthly performance call in line. If you can get this arranged, you might say second Tuesday of every month, fantastic. But the priority is getting the date and the time for the next engagement coming up. And these two may be different. Now, straight after the meeting, we get the Slack channel set up. So we create the external Slack channel. We'll set the next meeting in the calendar. We'll set up the delivery sheet, which is where we house any sort of documentation delivery that the team deliver on. And then we'll pin everything to the Slack channel. So this is what an external Slack channel looks like for one of our clients. We've got the drive at the top here. We've got the paid media delivery sheet, the SEO delivery sheet, and a link to the reporting dashboard as well. So essentially, if the client just needs to check activity status, if they need to check what their numbers are in a specific day, they can do this within one click. And again, we're focusing on exceptional client experience here. And this is what this does. And then when all of this is set up, then add all the stakeholders into the channel. So you want this to be pre-set up for them. You want them to go into that Slack channel and they're seeing all this documentation already listed. Now, the first Slack message you put in should essentially follow up with the minutes, and this should be owned by the account manager, who is the central point of communication on the account. So have your account manager wrap up the key discussion points in Slack, attach the kickoff call document that you ran through, so the presentation, into the message as well. If you still have any access that you don't have, outline it again and highlight that you need to get this done. As I said, it's a blocker. The client knows that, but it's sometimes very easy for them to sort of say, yeah, we'll sort it, and then something comes up and it's forgotten about it. It happens, right? Stress the importance of it. Show the client the delivery items that are found in the Slack as well. Literally just screenshot your Slack channel and put a big arrow pointing to where it is, because it may be missed, right? And then if the client doesn't reply to the Slack channel in 24 hours, drop them an email asking if they've seen it. You want to promote good practices here, right? So you want to take them away from email. You want to have them in the Slack channel. So don't deliver the 4 minutes in email, because they may get used to sort of using email again. Now, if the client doesn't use Slack or Teams or an instant messaging tool within the business, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get used to sort of operating in Slack. So again, your team needs to sell the value of them working in there, basically. So, the regular comms, the access to all our stakeholders, the one click to any documentation, and saving of inbox bloat, right? So have your account manager send that first Slack. Straight after this, again, have it as a separate message. But Slack 2, so the second message, outlines the next actions. And again, this is from the account manager. So essentially, key delivery to look out for and when to anticipate it. So what are the things that we're starting to work on today, and what are the dates that we think it will be delivered by? Outline the format it will be delivered in. So for us, we always deliver an overview video of any documentation we send. We say that we'll send a video along with the actual documentation and the raw data, and this will be stored in the shared drive, and a link to it will be outlined in the delivery sheet. So yeah, remind them where delivery will be stored. Just make sure that this is a central point as well. You do not want the client jumping around trying to find these documents. It will work against you badly. And then finally, check in to ensure that the client insights document is done and all the access is provided. So you've got essentially sort of 3-ish fail safes to make sure the client insights document is done and you've got all the access. And between those 3, that should be enough to ensure that you've got what you need so you can crack on with the job, and that's it. Now, a couple of things to remember, right? These are really important. I do not believe that there is such a thing as over communication, especially in the first 1 to 3 months. So if needs be, over deliver on the communication if necessary. Okay, so for us, we always ensure that we deliver at least 2 updates a week. So this is usually actions at the start and like a roundup at the end. So typically your account manager will list out a couple of bullet points, things that the team are working on. Even if, say, on the Friday, we've already told the client that we're working on a Google Ads audit, we will tell them again on the Monday we are working on a Google Ads audit, or we've started to make progress on it. On the Friday, we'll hope to give them an update as to where we're at with it, right? In between there, it's a good opportunity for your specialists to jump in with maybe some insights, some findings, some additional questions around the account, i.e. some context around, why have we gone after these keywords when in the client insights document you said explicitly that we're not targeting these types of keywords or this audience. Those sort of things show that we've got our head in the client insights document, we're asking good, smart questions. And again, the communication helps to build a rapport with all people working on your team, right? For the first 3 months, we'll also ensure we have a meeting at least every 2 weeks as well. Audits and findings, whatever. Now, I know some agencies do weekly calls. I think too many calls can actually slow us down. So I'm fine with over delivery on communication where we're keeping the client updated, what we're doing, findings, etc., etc. If we're having to get, say, a paid media manager, the account manager, 2 contacts from the client onto a call every week, 4 people of an hour every single time. That's a significant amount of time on the account that will slow us down. So I'm always, I sort of say, I think the optimum is every 2 weeks, right? This might change depending on the industry, but every 2 weeks was really the sweet spot for both the client and for us as well. Another key thing is encourage the good processes early on, right? So be responsive in Slack, be flexible with meetings, and ensure we're logging everything in. You can tell I've finished writing this, didn't you, before I started filming? Logging everything in delivery sheets as well. Last point to this, get the clients excited. You know, we got them excited from the kickoff call. Just keep those good positive feelings running through. It counts for a lot, okay? Just do it. Now, 3 sort of lessons. I mentioned this at the start, but every interaction you have with the client builds their perception of you. So bad onboarding will damage early trust. That might be a challenge to rebuild. Don't start on the back foot. So, you know, every time we send a communication piece, share an insight, those interactions are helping to paint a picture of whether the client sort of trusts you as experts or doesn't. So bear that in mind, you know, and this actually kind of links to the bit at the bottom here, but this is why sweating the small stuff is so integral when you're trying to build that trust, right? I don't think you can overthink a communication going out or a message going out, or how we present our findings and how we communicate our findings. It all builds the perception of you and your team. And I've also put here, don't underestimate the power of good, consistent communication. It's absolutely everything. So always ensure the client understands what you're working on, why you're working on it, and the value it brings as well. So those are the 3 key lessons. Now, I said I'd go into the secret tips. Wow, if you've got here, which is over 30 minutes, thank you. If you can just drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you've made it this far, can you comment on the video, say onboarding processes just for the YouTube algorithm? That'd be fantastic. So the 3 secret tips. The work you do is half the accomplishment. So the tone, the frequency in which you communicate is absolutely critical. We've actually got a communication SOP at the agency because communication has been found to make or break a relationship. If you get really good results, but you don't communicate them very well, or the client's actually sometimes unaware of those results, it's going to work against you, right? So doing the work is just half the thing. Getting the results, I promise you, is also just another segment of the battle. The communication side of it can never be underestimated, and I cannot stress that enough. Within the kickoff call and in the opening weeks, you need to ensure your team show evidence of their expertise. So get them to find quick wins, insights, analysis, you know, that your client can essentially take to their senior team, essentially show how great we're doing, how great they're doing. Again, you don't just want to get the trust of the person you're engaging day to day. You also want to get buy-in from the CEO, the MD, the VP, whoever. Even though they don't have day-to-day contact with us, we still need to make sure that they're bought into us as an agency, and they value everything we're doing, right? So I mentioned this during the when we have the kickoff call, but sort of dropping in other client wins we've had, the length of time we've been working with those clients, it all validates us, you, whoever, as experts. And a final part to this, the trick is to make the client look good and make them feel comfortable that you've got everything in hand, right? Make your contact look good to their bosses, right? You want them standing up in a meeting to the board and they're being able to present a list of wins, how it's contributing towards our growth, how it's contributing towards revenue targets for the business. That will ensure a long-term, a fruitful relationship with the client. Wow. That was a long one. Thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I know I've just literally just plugged the channel and the video, but as I said, I'm early on in the YouTube game here. A subscriber to the channel is all I ask for. Well, on top of a like on the video as well. But yeah, if you want more of this stuff, comment, DM me, let me know. And until next time, thank you.